Conflagration is a new skill gem coming in 327 Keepers of the Flame, and I have decided that it is going to be my league starter. Now, before we get into that, I just want to point out that this is not going to be a guide. This is just simply going to be talking about what I'm going to play. I do not want to handhold you through the game. I'm just going to go over what I am going to do when playing this skill and how it functions and how we have crafted the build. Now, if you do want something like to league start, I would heavily suggest checking out TyTy's tier list for 327. It's usually very good. Or you could check out Pal. He's going to be league starting the Eclipse's Solaris wand, like as Kinetic Rain, which is one of the newer skills, right? Or he's thinking about it. Check out him. And that's pretty much it for that. Now, let's talk about Conflagration. Now, we can see some footage here. I can bring it up. Here you go. Here's some footage for Conflagration. Oh, let me slow it down for you guys. I don't know why it's I don't know why it's so fast. Here you go. I'll slow it down. So you shoot arrows into the sky, and then as you walk near these arrows that get stuck in the ground, they will explode, applying a secondary debuff and also applying explosion damage. Now, we're actually going to be scaling the debuff, the secondary debuff, because not many people really realize, but there is a secondary debuff. The debuff does like 2600 fire damage per second at base, and it is applied when the arrow explodes when you walk near it. Now, something interesting, if you look at the footage here, when you walk near the arrow, it will explode the entire chain of arrows if they're nearby each other, and I'm pretty sure this will scale as you get AoE, and thankfully as an elemental you can get a lot of AoE, which is the ascendancy we're going. But yeah, it will kind of make up for the clunkiness of having to walk near it, because like you can see in the footage here that I have from the trailer, right, as he got more area, it makes it look way better, right? Because like there, like it immediately popped and he was just like a little bit near it. Now, of course, like I said, we're gonna be scaling the debuff part. Why is that? Well, there's a few reasons. It's actually not for the reason that Conflag is being added. It's because of another reason. Blast Rain of Charthus is a skill that was added last patch that you can now get from Heist. The idea here is you fire one arrow in the air, it lands, and then it applies a damage over time debuff here. So here, the debuff does very similar damage to Conflag. So to give you an idea, Conflagration does 2600 fire damage over time per second, while Blast Rain of Charthus does 2700. Now, what's interesting is these two will stack because you can have a Conflagration link and a Blast Rain of Charthus link, which allows you to scale the fire dot from both of them, and that's really efficient, especially as a bow character, as you have plenty of links to work with this, right? And this also scales off of skill gem levels. This is essentially playing like Caustic Arrow, but imagine if Caustic Arrow had another skill that scaled alongside of it. In this case would be like, Toxic Rain, but Toxic Rain's a little bit more different, because the idea with these skills is they're just like Caustic Arrow, where you shoot once, apply the debuff, and then you're fine for a few seconds, right? And then same thing with Blast Rain of Charthus. Now, Blast Rain of Charthus has a few problems. The biggest issue with Blast Rain of Charthus is its clear sucks, as I've seen in a few videos, but you can use it for single target, and you can use Conflagration for clear, because like if you look in the footage here, this clear looks plenty good, and we can scale it even further with AoE, right? Like get even more AoE and applying that, degen. It's pretty decent. Now, of course, like I said, we'll be applying degen to it instead of doing an ignite per se. But yeah, that's the interesting part. Now, the issue with league starting this though is the fact that Conflagration is not something that Witch gets until probably like to get to the what is it called, the library, or we have to get it at Act 6. And another issue is, of course, Blast Rain of Charthus here, we can't get it till we do Heist, so we have to play something else until we get access to both of these gems. And I'll be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna do Lightning Conduit. Lightning Conduit is pretty comfy. I like Lightning Conduit, The idea is just use Lightning Conduit in combination with Orb of Storms to do, your shocks, and you just cast Lightning Conduit everywhere. It feels pretty good to play. Zizaran has made a video on it. If you want more of an explanation, I would heavily suggest checking that out. But essentially, we're going to be playing Lightning Conduit until we get access to both Conflagration, which will be pretty easy, and then we get access to Blast Rain of Charthus. And I might be doing Heist early on, especially with the Heist buffs, or I'll buy it from trade, because I'm going to be trying to trade this league, by the way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, in the POB here, I just want to point out that Blast Rain of Charthus and Conflagration have very similar damage over time profiles, so that's why I'm using Blast Rain of Charthus here for Fate Conflagration. I'll probably update it once we actually get access to the gem info and stuff like that, but you can actually see the gem info here, and if there's any changes, I'll obviously fix it. Now let's talk about what we ended up with in general. So here's the 2-stone config. We're just scaling it like as if we're scaling like Caustic Arrow, but instead fire. And that turns out to be pretty good, as there's a lot of support for this archetype. There's a lot of fire damage over time multi on the tree here, like here, here, and here, right? Then you can also run Elementalist and run Chaos Golem for even more fire damage over time multiplier, right? Which is really nice. That's really cool. And of course, Elementalist, we get the Shock scaling. Shock is really strong right now with the Shaper of Storms. It's probably going to get nerfed in the future, by the way. I don't know why they buffed it to 25%, but whatever, cool. And we also get even more negative res scaling with Mastermind of Discord. We get AoE scaling for Legion of the Primordial, and we get AoE all over the tree. We get AoE here, and we get AoE here. We can run AoE on the gem as well, right? To make, Conflagration have even more AoE, which is cool. Now, that's cool and all, but how do we scale it further? Well, for cheap uniques right now, we have Honor Home, which is just +2 to Socketed Gems. Conflagration and Blast Rain of Charthus scale off of gem levels, so we want gem levels. We don't want actual flat damage on our bow or anything like that. And Infernal Mantle is also a really useful item, as it's +3 to Socketed Fire Gems, and eventually you could double corrupt this as well for +4. And there's actually a few targets to hit, because there's AoE, Duration, and Projectile, which are all 3 gems that could work for this as well, which is really nice. So that's really cool. And then the kind of bow we need isn't really that important. Just fire dot multi-craft, which you eventually get, and then wed on it as well. You can even probably essence craft this with like better mods. This is like a really shitty bow. In theory, eventually you'd want to be utilizing a what is it called? A Widow Hail with a really good quiver, but obviously you're not going to get that day one, or at least very easily. And with her quiver, it's not like the best quiver ever either. It's just like dot multi % damage on a primal arrow quiver, right? And then of course just a pyre. Pyre is just % damage. You could run anything else. It's just damage, and everything else is just like whatever you need. Whatever items, just with some suppress, some HP, and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. And +1 amulet as well. And the amulet is really good. Belt is just HP and attributes. One problem with this build is we are a deck stacking build, or deck stacking requirement on the top of the tree, so we need decks everywhere, right? And same thing with strength. Now, that's cool and all. This is going to be fun. I think this is going to be a fun build. The problem I have overall with POB in general, I don't know what's going on with phys max hit. I'm going to play it by ear when we get into the game. But right now, the phys max hit doesn't look that large. And for some reason, it's not really taking into account like Shaper of Flames much. Because like in theory, it's like just like 30% less physical damage reduction, but whatever. I'm pretty sure that's how that works with, Shaper of Flames. And then as well, we're eventually going to have cap suppress, but right now we're at like 70%, isn't it? Yeah, like 78% suppress, right? Eventually we'll have cap suppress. We just don't have it capped yet. We could also grab endurance charges. We can grab more HP. We could dump damage and run a determination setup instead. Like we do have flesh and stone as well. We could run like determination eventually when you have enough resistances on gear. Like I don't even think we technically need malevolence. We could run like D-term and get more physmit, like literally just right now, like D-term. Like that gives me a lot more, like a little bit more, and you'd need to like run some armor here and there. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what POB is on, but like I'm pretty sure the phys max hits a little bit higher. Let me know in the comments below if you know what's going on with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the POB. This will be the one I linked down in the description. This is like what I plan on getting to, like when I get to my 2 stone and hopefully 4 stone as well. Now, one thing I will show off the min-max version. This is the don't ask about it investment, you know, obviously. Like this is like when you've been doing a bunch of incursion and double corrupting. Is like when you have an eye of malice. This is when you get a whittle hail that you like, a quiver that you like. Obviously this is like all ridiculous stuff. This is just meant to like showcase like the upper end of the build. Like this is where I'm probably going to end on the build. You could invest into it further and go with like a mage blood, but the problem is mage blood doesn't actually affect our damage much, because like silver flask, like onslaught doesn't affect our damage. Like we don't have that many flasks that actually affect our damage. So like I'm probably going to end up getting a mage blood for utility, but like obviously, like we don't need one, right? Like it's not that important. But yeah, this is like what the super duper like min max looks like. I'm not going to be linking down this below because the biggest issue is we don't have all of the new bloodline ascendancies. I don't know what bloodline ascendancies we could use, because in theory Mastermind of Discord only gives us so much DPS. If there's like a better one, we might end up running that instead. I'm not sure, but this is going to be the 2 stone run that I'm going to be 2 stone run POB that I'm going to be linking down below. Like I said, the only issue I have with this POB is I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the phys max hit. Like I got to get that up. I just don't know exactly how I'm going to do that. We could run Enduring Cry. That could be another way of doing it. We could get Enduring Charge somehow, like an early Enduring Composure eventually. There's a lot of things you could do to fix it. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to fuck around with it in game. One thing that's really nice about Conflagration that people probably don't know or isn't really thinking about is we apply our Conflag, right? Like our Fire Dot, and then we apply our Blast Rain, and then we just sit and apply our brand, because our brand take cares of our wave of conviction and stuff like that, and our curses. We just put the brand on the boss, we hit them. Shaper Storm's always up. This is up while mapping because we hit the enemies and apply the shock. With Conflag, we hit the enemies and we apply the ignite, so this is up as well, as long as you're hitting the enemy with Conflag, which you should be doing, right? You don't get the exposure while clearing, at least with this setup currently. Obviously later on you'd get exposure on gloves, and then we would have exposure, and then that would save us the slot here for wave of conviction. That'd be really cool, right? Eventually that's something you should do. But yeah, like you can just simply have your damage uptime very simple and easy. So like this damage is actually way higher than this because of the fact of how easy it is to keep our damage uptime. So that's nice. We can also keep our range from bosses as well. We don't have to stand next to them. We don't have to be a stinky melee build, right? We can actually, dodge and weave and not have to actually take damage when we don't want to. But yeah, the only thing I would say, like I said, is like I'm trying to figure out a way of getting enough gem slots to shove in like a defensive skill like Steel Skin or something. It's just hard to do that when you have 2 4 links that you want for damage, right? That's like one of the issues with setups like this that have 2 4 links for damage, is like running out of gem slots. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the video today. That's gonna be it for the build. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play Lightning Conduit into getting Blast Rain to Charthus and a Conflag setup, then using that to get to my 2 stones, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do from there. We still need all the bloodline information to figure out if there's any cheap, easy bloodlines to get early on that could really help us instead of Mastermind of Discord. Because as you can see, even here, like it's not even that much damage. It's just nice damage early on, but later on, we don't need that. We can swap into anything else. But yeah, all that being said, this has been Dread. I'll have to go do something else.